and I did that for a number of years. But I really felt that what I was doing was important to save the world. And I've since come to say that there's kind of nothing really more dangerous to the world at large than a young person who thinks they're saving it. Because I was dedicated, I was gung-ho, I was all in, and I was a true believer. I really thought that this stuff was gonna change things. So I didn't know to look for or see the red flags. And having been raised in it, I was even more not looking for the red flags that were there, but I only saw them later on. So I joined staff when I was 17, and for 8 years I worked in Santa Barbara. One of L. Ron Hubbard is the guy who came up with all of Dianetics and Scientology. He wrote all the books, he gave thousands of lectures, like probably about 5,000 or so over all the years that he was doing it. He started it in 1950 with Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health. Scientology itself started in 1952 or so. He went in on it with a science, Dianetics, the modern science of mental health. Well, that went bankrupt twice in 2 years. It was panned by the scientific community because there wasn't really anything scientific about it. You can call anything you want a science, it doesn't make it a science. So Scientology comes along as a religious philosophy. And it's not a religion in the sense that you worship. It's not a religion in the sense that there is communion and these various rituals and things like that, or masses or something like that. The way they describe it is that Scientology is an applied religious philosophy. And it's religious because it deals with man as a spiritual entity, not a body. The basic philosophy of Scientology is that you are not your body. You are a spiritual entity called a thetan, and from the Greek letter theta. And that spiritual entity that is you has existed for countless millennia into the past and will exist for countless millennia into the future. And you are trapped in an endless cycle of having a body, growing the body dies, you go to a hospital and you pick up another baby, and you cycle through another life, and another one, and another one. And you've been doing this for millions, billions, trillions of years. Since before the physical universe, this place even existed. And what Scientology offers as sort of the ultimate carrot of personal spiritual freedom and immortality is a break from that cycle, the ability to causatively and knowingly break free from that and be able to do anything you want. And that's, if you think about it, a pretty cool carrot. I mean, you kind of, if you go into that and you think that's how things really are, and you're trapped in this, so much so you can't even remember your past lives, then you'd give a lot to be able to break out of that. And through the course of Scientology auditing or counseling, you are taken back to, you recall times of past incidents of pain and stress and trauma, which L. Ron Hubbard says causes you to forget bad things that have happened to you in the past. In fact, it causes you to forget everything that happened to you in the past. So through the course of this counseling or auditing, you recall your past lives. You recall who you've been, where you've been, what you've been up to for all these years. And you then release, sort of the binds or the shackles that you've sort of put on yourself as a spiritual entity. So that's basically the philosophy of it. And like I said, if I still believed that, and if I thought that that actually resulted in something wonderful and great for people, then I'd still be doing it. But I've come to learn that that's not really the case. The other thing about Scientology, and this is kind of an important little point, is that you pay for that counseling. And you pay for the classes, and you pay for the books and the lectures. And you pay a lot. In order to get to the level that South Park talks about, where you have the Xenu and the Galactic Overlord and all that, you've coughed over, by that point, that's called OT level 3, or operating Thetan level 3. There are 8 of those levels. You've paid about $250,000 to $500,000. And ultimately, to get all the way to the top, you're going to cough over, $1 million plus, generally speaking. It varies because some people give more than others, but there is a set series of donations. You have to pay a certain amount in order to get to that level. So that's kind of how it works. It's a pay-to-play religion. It's not free. It is not at all. Well, that's why it's not tax exempt in a lot of countries. That's right. Exactly. There's a public benefits test that countries outside the United States have to determine whether something receives religious status or not, and Scientology has never passed one public benefits test because it doesn't exist for public benefit. It exists to make money. In the end, that's really what it's all about. But when I was 25 years old and I was still knee-deep and neck-deep in this, Hubbard's policies and his guidelines for how to run the churches and the organizations called for individuals taking responsibility for the group and for applying his rules and guidelines and policies. And he said that the only reason that his organizations do not expand and get bigger and grow and bring more people in and Scientology should be taking over the world, that is their idea. And they're not even shy about it. They call it clearing the planet. Because if you clear someone, you get them to a place where they are free from all of that past stress and trauma. That's called the state of clear. And it's sort of a midway point before you get up to those OT levels and get onto that Xenu stuff. So Scientology's goal is to clear the planet. Get everybody into Scientology. A common mantra in Scientology or saying is, everyone's a Scientologist, they just don't know it yet. So they're very strongly convinced that they've got the one and only solution. And this is another little point. Scientology is not about find your own path. Scientology is about you follow these rules and these guidelines in this direction from L. Ron Hubbard, or you're doing it wrong. And it's our way or the highway. Now, at the lower levels, and when they talk to the general public, they'll say, we're multi-denominational. Anybody can be a Scientologist. You can be a Catholic and be a Scientologist, Christian Scientologist. Sure, for a little while. But as you start getting more and more of that auditing and moving on up that line to crossing that bridge to total freedom, you start finding Hubbard's lectures and the organization itself becoming less and less tolerant of you doing something other than Scientology for personal improvement or spiritual growth. Little thing.